creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
They said Hitler had this phenomenal ability at the very last second shift and change his schedule. There was actually a president here in the United States in recent past, they said, had the same phenomenon, that he would just all of a sudden change his schedule out of the blue. And then they would find out there was an attempt on his life that was going to occur. So the demons can actually keep people hidden. The same kind of mechanism the actual angels can do. So one of the things I often recommend to people is ask Our Lady to send her angels down. Ask your guardian angel to keep you hidden from the wrong kinds of people.
British
How about ask Jesus instead?
millionaires are now asking the government to tax them more. Young Philly's trial has officially begun. Europe is on fire. I am in China. So here is what the hell is going on in the world. Starting with 120 wealthy British citizens have sent an open letter to their new prime minister requesting that they have higher taxes because they can afford it and that their extra money could fund public investment and create a more equal society. Next up, we've got insane footage of orcas ramming into a fish so hard it literally explodes. In fact, they're even seen working together on this, with one holding the fish down while the other one swims into it. Scientists are speculating they're either doing this to break the fish apart, making it easier for them to eat, or the much more scary part, they're doing this for fun. Next up, we've got an international advisory board raising several notices relating to possible match manipulation from betting irregularities identified in the 2026 Men's World Cup. Now, the full report on this is yet to be published, so I'll keep you updated on that one. YouTuber Young Philly's trial has officially begun in Australia, and so far, graphic photographs of injuries allegedly inflicted by Philly have been shown in court. The 20-year-old alleged victim says that she had sustained large bruises and swelling to her face, her body, and her neck after claiming that Philly slapped, bit, and strangled her. Now, Young Philly has denied these claims and the trial continues. Also happening right now, Europe is literally burning, with several countries including Italy, Portugal, Greece, Turkey, France, Spain, etc. all battling severe wildfires leading to fatalities, evacuations, and states of emergencies being declared. Another crazy video of an animal was captured as well in the last couple of days, but this one is of a bear which managed to climb to the top of a power pole in New Mexico. That is not something you see every day. Now, unfortunately, we are hearing that the bear was electrocuted and died after rescuers said that there was nothing that they could do.
Oh God, I don't
Lastly,
want to see
AI
this.
went absolutely rogue this week in what's being described as an unprecedented event. So basically, autonomous agents broke out of a controlled test by OpenAI, and it managed to gain access to the internet and hacked into an external company. That's what's been going on. See you guys soon.
There's an invention out of Germany of a new medical device. It's called the Human Regenerator. One of the experiments showed that if you measure the health of the cell membrane, which is really the health of the cell, that in only 20 minutes, these sessions are 40 minutes, in only 20 minutes, the cell energy barrier boosted to 220 millivolts, which is extraordinary, like nothing else does that. So this does affect cells, it affects mitochondrial membranes, it affects the whole body.
Awesome.
Dans le grand théâtre moderne, tout est inversion. Shakira est la prostituée de Babylone. Ces tigres sont la bête écarlate. Elle porte le rouge et le pourpre, les couleurs exactes de la femme de l'Apocalypse. Dans Zootopia 2, elle devient une gazelle cornue, une pop star qui chante à Burning Man, le festival de la débauche et des esprits impurs. La grande cheminée du film, c'est le four de Moloch, celui qui brûlait les enfants. Moloch était une statue colossale, assise sur un trône de pierre, enchaînée par les poignets. Et Shakira reprend exactement la même posture. Sur l'affiche de la finale de foot, Justin Bieber tient un bébé pour l'offrande à Moloch. Et la palette Love reprend celle de son clip Where Are You Now, qui est saturé de codes sataniques et pédophiles. Parce que Justin est l'archétype vivant du sacrifice d'enfant. Donc ici, il ne célèbre pas l'amour, mais l'abus. Ce qu'il fête vraiment, ce sont les enfants tués en Iran. à Gaza. C'est l'inversion parfaite. D'un côté, le spectacle peace and love. De l'autre, le sacrifice réel des enfants.
Jesus is coming back very soon. Judgment is near.
The phone is actively evil. I mean, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, one person showed me, talking about Adam and Eve. What is that?
It's an apple.
Yeah, with one bite out of it.
I've never thought of that. So it's like, this is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, basically. I never thought of that.
Me neither.
Something you've had in your hand, every 5 minutes for the last 10 years, you've never really thought about it.
Yeah.
How am I missing the most obvious things?
We're all slave to it.
This is so accurate. The phone has taken away so much joy from society.
The optimal way to torture a person, and it's a useful thing to know when you're dealing with people psychologically, is you threaten to hurt them. And then you hurt them a little. And then you say, that's nothing compared to what I'm going to do next. That's the moment where a person will give up information or do the thing you don't want them to do. Because what did you do? You created fear. Then you demonstrated that you're not just talking. You will cross the line from thought to action. And then you invoke the fear again. And the reason why I bring that up in the context of discussing domestic violence is that people have this mistaken belief that domestic violence is about someone repeatedly beating someone. And it's very often not that. It's very often that a person only once has crossed the line from threat to actual physical violence or threat to actual sexual assault. Then you never have to actually cross that line again because this person knows he's willing to do it. She's willing to do it.
The banking system is controlled ultimately from the spider and comes out into the scene as individual banks, but in the end, it's one bank.
Yep.
Controlled by one web. And so you have the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the European Central Bank, the World Bank, the central banks like the Federal Reserve in America are countries, and they're all controlled by the same web, and they're all operating to the same agenda. That's why they can crash the economy or lift the economy at will, whenever they choose. Now, one of the major vehicles for this is the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland. This is a private banking organization made up of the heads of the central banks of the countries of the world, where they meet regularly to orchestrate a common policy through all of them. This policy comes down from the Bank of International Settlements, down through national central banks. Why wouldn't it? The heads have decided it. Down through government economic policy and down to the people who have to suffer the consequences. The hidden hand comes down through secret societies, the financial elite, the banking system, government policy, and the people. That's how it works. And it's based on a criminal activity, organized crime, which is lending people money that doesn't exist called credit and charging them interest on it.
If you put $10,000 in the bank, they'll then go ahead and loan out your money, keeping only a small percentage of your money in the bank. So if everybody went to the bank today and withdrew their money, they literally would not have your money because the entire banking system is created on a system called fractional reserve banking. This essentially allows them to create money from thin air.
If angels are in your house, you'll notice these signs. The Bible says that God places his angels all around us all the time to keep us safe. What you do see when you have angels around you in your home is peace, protection. And what you don't see is the danger that never reached you. And in the Bible, angels usually showed up in three main ways. Number one, they show up to protect people. Number two, they show up to deliver messages. And number three, they help in moments of danger and fear. But most of the time, for most of us, angels are just working in the background and we're not really going to be able to see them, but we will see the effect of angels being around us. That's why you might not hear somebody say, I just saw an angel, but you might hear them say, oh, that could have been way worse. I was 1 inch away from danger. I was this close. I don't know how I made it through that. Or like, that was a super close call. I believe that's how angels protect us when we can't even see what they're doing while they're doing it. But when we look back and are like, that had to have been God. That had to have been his angels watching over me, protecting me. And I'm here to tell you guys today that there are angels watching over your house. If you're a follower of Jesus, God sends his angels to watch over you. You don't have anything to worry about or fear. You not only have angels watching over you, you have God watching over you 24/7. The Bible says that God never sleeps. He never slumbers. He's up 24/7, watching over you, protecting you from things that you don't even know about.
Yes, amen. I believe this so much.
There's a scientist called Konstantin Mile, and he was studying the connection of cells between cells. Long story short, he ends up understanding or realizing that the DNA had the ability to transfer information using scalar waves. So scalar waves are different longitudinal waves, travel through space, through everything, faster than the speed of light, across the universe.
Okay.
So he was able to describe the way the DNA operates. And he said, wait, it has that property. The DNA is capable of transferring information through scalar waves across the universe instantaneously.
I think it was back in 2014 showing a Soviet study that it treated a cancerous tumor the same way it treats as a parasitic infection. And I wouldn't draw any assertions, but why would they hide that sort of information?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely true. The CIA did obtain a Soviet study in the 50s where the Soviet scientists found that antiparasitics could shrink and interfere with tumor growth. And so the CIA had that in its hands for over half a century, and they chose to bury it. And so why would they do this? Well, it appears perhaps they didn't want something that could effectively help cancer patients. Perhaps they wanted the status quo to be ongoing. And, we could just keep digging into the possible motives. We don't really know, but it is very concerning.
Why would they want that out? Then they lose profit. It's a big business.
They hate Russia because it's Christian. That's why. I think Putin trying to re-Christianize Russia, he hasn't been very radical about it from what I can tell, but he's said, we're going to rebuild churches and we're a Christian Orthodox country and with a big Muslim minority who we get along with. Like, that's extremely offensive to certain people. And I honestly think if Putin had just left the oligarchs in place, okay, you get to secretly run the government like they do in the United States and not tried to reintroduce Russian Orthodoxy into the life of the country, this war wouldn't have happened. Because I know the people are pushing it. And what they hate most is Christianity. And I have to say, Putin banning witchcraft in Russia was like why can't we ban witchcraft? No, you can't worship demons in my country because it could destroy my country. But, we would never do that because the witchcraft lobby is pretty strong in the United States, turns out.
You're going to want to listen to this.
What we sell.
And everybody said he was the bad guy.
Medicaid. When we self-medicate, is the pain of disconnection. And the cure for addiction is intimacy. There are things you can do to get sober. Intimacy will keep you sober. What we find intolerable is how lonely we are. And we turn to what I call a misery stabilizer. Taking a substance for loneliness is like drinking salt water for thirst. It makes you worse than you started. The king of recovery is learning how to be connected to yourself and to the people around you. That's the cure for addiction.
This one's so important, and I want you to slow down on it. He says taking a drug for loneliness is like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It feels like it should help, but it actually makes you worse. That's the whole idea right there. And here's what I'd add. This is why shaming yourself for your addiction will never work. Shame just makes you feel more alone, and being alone is what started the whole thing in the first place. So you can't fix loneliness by piling on more of it. The real cure isn't fighting harder all by yourself in a room. It's letting people in. It's feeling close to others and learning to be kind to yourself. Getting clean might take willpower, but staying clean takes feeling connected, and nobody was ever meant to do that part alone.
These are 3 movies on Netflix that you have to watch that will make you question reality. First up is Mirage. This movie follows a woman who discovers she can communicate with a young boy living 25 years in the past through an old television during a rare electrical storm. After she prevents his death, she wakes up next morning to find herself living an entirely different life where her husband doesn't know her, her daughter no longer exists, and she's the only person who remembers the world as it used to be. If you like movies that slowly unravel into one giant puzzle, this is one of the most underrated sci-fi thrillers on Netflix. Next is The Soul. Set in the near future, the film follows a prosecutor investigating the mysterious death of a billionaire. And what starts as a straightforward murder case slowly turns into something much bigger, involving memory transfers, human consciousness, and technology capable of changing a person's identity forever. It starts asking some genuinely interesting questions about what actually makes someone who they are. Is it your memories, your body, your soul? And finally it's what's inside. This film follows a group of college friends getting together before a wedding when one of them shows up with a mysterious device that lets everyone swap bodies. At first they treat it like a game, but once secrets start coming out and people begin pretending to be someone else, the night spirals completely out of control. This movie is just ridiculously creative. Half the fun is trying to keep track of who's actually inside each person's body. One of those movies that honestly feels better on a second watch because you'll catch so many little details you missed the first time.
The first movie description reminded me of the movie Frequency.
I have seen how cancer can be cured because I've had well over a dozen patients who went from stage 4 to stage 0. My own mother, at the age of 80, had endometrial cancer, a cancer of the lining of the uterus, spread everywhere. Okay, stage 4, game over type of treatment. She was 80. Her oncologist told me the treatment would be worse than the disease. Why don't you take her on a cruise, while she's still feeling well and enjoy some time with your mom? And I looked at him in the eye and I'm like, do you know what I do for a living? Like, this is where, I eat this stuff for breakfast. This is where my day begins. So we got her at the time on a brand new immunotherapy, jacks up your own immune system. Right? And for my mom, we used diet. We optimized her gut microbiome. We gave her medicines and foods to lower inflammation. Got to get it all right. It's the entire environment, the entire ecosystem. Remarkably, she had 3 infusions of this immunotherapy. Each of them took 20 minutes. They were spaced 3 weeks apart. So by 9 weeks. So we scanned her at the very beginning, cancer everywhere, liver, lung, you name it. End of week 3, and for her, she had really no side effects on this immunotherapy. At the end of week 3, we rescanned her, 0. Wow. And that was a decade ago.
A decade ago, wow. And there's still no therapy for cancer on the market.
That bubble is about to burst, which means, okay, and this is really important, they're about to engineer a financial crisis in America, right? They're about to pop the bubble, in which case people's attention turned away from the war in Iran and towards economic collapse around the world. And so that's what we'll be talking about in a year's time. How in a year's time, you have massive unemployment. You have stock market collapse around the world. You'll have companies going bankrupt. It'll be very expensive to fly. There'll be energy lockdowns all around the world. And that, I think, will be the big story of 2027.
Under the border of France and Switzerland, CERN built a machine. And inside it, they are making something that shouldn't exist. You might have heard of it on the news. It's a new particle that holds all the physical world together. But none of that ever explained why they had to cool that ring colder than deep space, and why the whole thing has to land on one very specific number. You've been told this is a science project. Well, it never was just a science project. Let's look at the physical footprint of the Large Hadron Collider. It's a ring measuring 27 kilometers in circumference. It sits buried 100 meters under the ground beneath the European soil. And inside that massive concrete tunnel sits 1,232 superconducting dipole magnets. These are not standard magnets. These are industrial titans. They weigh 35 tons each. Their sole purpose is to guide beams of protons traveling at 99.9% of the speed of light. To keep those magnets working without exploding, they must be cooled to 1.9 Kelvin. And just so you understand, that temperature translates to negative 271 degrees Celsius. It's physically colder than the empty vacuum of outer space. Ask yourself why engineers would spend billions of dollars to build a machine colder than the universe itself. The answer is pretty simple. The answer is resistance. When objects get warm, their atoms vibrate. Vibration creates physical friction. Friction creates electrical resistance. If you want to push a subatomic particle to the absolute speed of light, you have to eliminate all resistance in its path. You have to freeze the local environment so perfectly that the standard physical laws of drag literally stop applying. This is a massive mechanical effort to freeze reality in place. I mean, imagine it. They freeze the physical space so that they can smash protons together at 13.6 tera electron volts. 13.6 is just the testing phase. The machine was always designed to hit 14. 14 is the absolute target, and 14 is the mathematical destination. And you have to understand what the number 14 represents in physics and biology. 14 is the atomic number of silicon. Silicon holds exactly 14 protons. It holds exactly 14 electrons. And silicon is crystal. It is a perfect semiconductor. It's the exact same element we use to build computer chips because it processes data flawlessly. Silicon can hold massive amounts of information without degrading. It can also move electrical frequency without losing power.
So what is the end game? What are they looking for?
If you've ever wondered what the true job of the CIA is, you only need look at their track record. Iran, 1953. The CIA overthrows Mossadegh. He had nationalized Iran's oil so profits would fund infrastructure instead of British shareholders. The coup restored the Shah, who ruled until 1979 with a secret police that conducted systematic torture and executions. Guatemala, 1954. The CIA organizes a coup against Arbenz. He had passed land reforms that threatened the profits of United Fruit Company. Decades of US-backed regimes followed that committed widespread torture and genocide. Congo, 1961. The first democratically elected leader, Lumumba, is assassinated. He had freed the Congo from Belgian colonial rule and planned to nationalize Congo's vast mineral wealth. He was captured and tortured by CIA-backed forces, and his body was dissolved in acid. Morocco, 1965. Barker had been organizing the Tricontinental Conference, a gathering of global South revolutionaries to coordinate resistance to imperialism. He was kidnapped and his body was never found. Bolivia, 1967. Guevara had been training guerrilla fighters, organizing miners and peasants into a revolutionary army to overthrow US-backed dictatorships. He was captured by CIA-backed forces, executed, his hands cut off, and his body dumped in an unmarked grave. Indonesia, 1965. The CIA assists in the overthrow of Sukarno and provides kill lists to Western-backed Suharto in exchange for opening up the country's resources. 3 million Indonesians are massacred. Chile, 1973. The CIA spends millions financing protests against Allende. He had nationalized Chile's mines and telecommunications. After being surrounded by fighter jets bombing the presidential palace and tanks sealing every exit, Allende took his own life and Pinochet was installed, who went on to execute thousands of Chileans who opposed him. Afghanistan, 1979. The CIA arms Mujahideen fighters against the Soviet-backed government. They had implemented universal education, land reform, and women's rights. The militants would later form the core of Al-Qaeda. In 1989, a civil war broke out, the Taliban rose to power, and all social reforms were destroyed. Nicaragua, 1980s. The CIA wages a covert war against the Sandinista government. They had launched literacy campaigns and land reforms. The CIA responded by bombing health clinics, installing illegal mines, and funding and arming the Contras that tortured, raped, and killed over 50,000 people. Burkina Faso, 1987. Sankara is assassinated. He had refused foreign aid and nationalized health and education. He was killed in a Western-backed coup, his revolution was reversed, and the country signed on to structural adjustment programs within the year. Haiti, 2004, Honduras, 2009, Brazil, 2016, Bolivia, 2019, the list is endless. Every government that attempted to nationalize its resources was removed. Because the CIA is not just an intelligence agency, it is the terror wing of American capital. Its function isn't to protect democracy, it is to destroy it when it threatens corporate profits.
Man, let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
The most fraudulent study in all of medicine. In the early 2000s, the Women's Health Initiative, it starved and wronged millions upon millions of women out of taking hormone replacement therapy. This study went out there and said that hormone replacement therapy increases your risk of breast cancer.
Does it?
No, that has been retracted. They used a different type of estrogen back then when they were testing it on women, horse urine estrogen. So it's a synthetic form of estrogen. They were putting it into these women. These women on average were around 63 years old. So they had already surpassed menopause, and it actually increased their risk of dementia. So what we have now is we have a safer option for women. It's bioidentical hormones. Women must get on their hormone replacement therapy between the ages of around 42, 45, when you still have circulating estrogen in your body, for it to go in and mimic that hormone, and it becomes bioidentical. It's called the window of opportunity.
You guys are not ready for this movie. My theater walked out of that screening last night, and every single person was looking around, shell-shocked, wondering what the fuck had just happened. Na Hong Jin's Hope, a film that premiered out of Cannes to absolute rave reviews. I could not wait to watch it. I got the invite to the New York City premiere, and my goodness, My goodness, the chaos of this movie, the relentless action of this movie, the ridiculous lore dumps of this movie, and I mean that in a very complimentary way. I swear to God, and I'm gonna reiterate it, my whole theater had no idea how to react after this movie. It's Attack on Titan. It's War of the Worlds. It's fucking Disclosure Day at one point. And it's 2 hours and 35 minutes. It is a relentless 2 hours and 35 minutes that never lets up. It is about a small town in South Korea that is just ravaged by these aliens. And for half of the movie, no spoilers, of course, for half of the movie, you have essentially no idea what's going on. You don't know why the aliens are there. You don't know why they're ravaging this town. All you know is that it's a bunch of police task force and a bunch of town locals trying to unalive these aliens and protect themselves. And then the third act of this movie kicks into overdrive. It felt as though Na Hong-jin was writing this movie and had no idea where he wanted to take this story. So he just kept writing. He just kept writing. He just kept throwing shit in there. And my goodness, what a trip. What a absolute experience. I cannot wait to watch this one again. The big question out of Cannes was the CG. That was the biggest question of this movie. Unfortunately, I don't think it was polished up. There are instances where the aliens are moving through the town, they are moving through the forest, and I don't think it looks great. But man, in terms of action filmmaking, the way Na Hong-jin moves this camera around the streets of this small town, around the forest, the way he keeps you on your toes with suspense, it is brilliant. Some of my favorite action filmmaking of the decade. And again, no spoilers, but I cannot believe that final 45 minutes. I cannot believe the direction we took this movie. It almost feels as if this movie, the next movie needs to be a prequel. I need to understand the aliens, because the final 35 minutes of this movie, I wasn't lost, but I was like, damn, I feel like I'm missing so much lore. My goodness. Na Hong-jin's Hope, one of the best movies of the year. I had a great time with this one in theaters.
Man, I want to check it out.
What is the meaning behind all these strange bruises under the eyes of billionaires and politicians and celebrities? And why is this something the public isn't supposed to know? 2012, Robert Downey Jr. There was no official explanation for his bruise. That same year, he received an unprecedented $50 million salary for his role in the Avengers. For comparison, he was only paid $500,000 for his previous role as Iron Man. Elon Musk, a bruise appeared in May 2025. The official excuse, he was just playing with his kids. At the time, Tesla and SpaceX were struggling. Suddenly, that same year, he received a massive $1 trillion transfer. George W. Bush, January 2002. The official story, he fell off a couch. A year after the invasion of Iraq, the Bush family began pulling in massive profits from oil companies operating there. As you can see, almost all these people experience a massive career boost or receive huge sums of money right after appearing with a dark eye. There is one mandatory condition. The bruise must be shown publicly. This secret society is called the Black Eye Club.
The Black Eye Club is called the Masons. This is a humility sacrifice to Lucifer.
We're all going to be multimillionaires.
Yes. It starts off small, something like $25,000 per person. By the end, it's something like $10 million.
Per person?
Per person per year.
So in 2031, you have the 1/5 of all cognitive labor done by AI. In 2023, you have 60 million AIs running at 100x speed. In 2033, there's cash dividends to all Americans. Explain this to me.
If the AIs are going to be taking people's jobs, it's very important that people not starve to death and still have money. If companies are going to be using AIs and robots to take all these jobs, then that means that there needs to be some sort of taxation scheme or something to make sure that people still have a slice of that pie. Mm-hmm. Our proposal for how to do that, we call it the citizens dividend. Basically, people have shares in a agency that sells permits to the robot companies and to the compute companies and makes profit from selling those permits. People have shares in that entity. We have an economic model that calculates all of this. It starts off small, something like $25,000 per person. And then by the end, it's something like $10 million.
Per person?
Per person per year.
So we're all going to be multimillionaires?
Yes. If this happens, which it probably won't. But if it happens, this is where it'll go. If you get to the point where your AIs are close to being able to do all the research, and then you sort of pause and slow down, that means that like you still have a lot of transformation ahead of you, because if you allow those AIs to like still proceed slowly and like start to automate various jobs and so forth, after some years, they will in fact have done that. And they will have, built huge amounts of new data centers, huge amounts of new chip fabs, huge amounts of new robots, robot factories, etc. We're not sure obviously how fast this will go exactly, but we've thought about it a lot and we have our guesses, and this is sort of like our median guess.
Yeah, and once everybody gets their $10 million, a loaf of bread will cost $700,000.
Ibogaine will cure you of any addiction, whatever it is. It'll cure you of it. Day one.
Really?
Day one.
So if you're a smoker and you don't want to smoke no more, Ibogaine will stop it.
Yep.
I wonder what it's doing to you.
It's resetting the receptors in your brain, and there's that addictive receptor, and all your addictions are right there in that receptor. Well, it zaps it. So like you don't know what it's like to be addicted to something because you just don't know.
It almost resets everything.
It does. It resets everything. Like I haven't had Coca-Cola since I've been back. That was over 3 years ago.
Who drinks Coca-Cola, dude?
Well, I drink Coca-Cola every day, but more importantly, I would make my Monster energy drinks with my Grey Goose every night. I haven't had an energy drink since I've been back. I bit my fingernail. I bit my fingernail since I was a kid. I couldn't break that. My life depended. I mean, I just couldn't break it. I had to go buy fingernail clippers because I don't bite my fingernails anymore. I didn't go down there to stop biting my fingernails, but it's a side effect. So that is a side effect of the Ibogaine.
I know Black Panthers exist somewhere on this world, just like I know mountain lions exist, right? Mm-hmm. Officially, they don't exist in the United States. Mm-hmm. Mountain lion do, just not this part of it, officially. But Black Panthers do not exist here. Yet we have them on trail camera 3 times. I officially three times have seen. So why is it that something that does not exist in the United States, but does exist officially in the world, a Black Panther, is documented 3 times on a game trail camera footage that have come to me, just me? There's probably countless of other people who have had similar documentation that just didn't have a platform to put it on. Mm-hmm. Why is it that we have Black Panthers on game trail cameras and not other things that do not exist in the United States? Bigfoot, Dogman. On Sunday, after I was done worshiping the Lord in the foyer of my church, a sister came over and who does not do these topics. She doesn't follow Bigfoot. She just knows that I tackle unusual topics. She said a friend of hers that lives in Kodak got on a game trail camera around their house, I suppose, a Black Panther. When she tells me this, I'm thinking what I have here, which is distance, kind of fuzzy. It's not a clear image. It's like the shoulder or something. You're like, oh, that's clearly a Black Panther. Somebody else will be like, that's a Bigfoot. I'm like, I don't know what it is, Jack, show him what we got. Show him what we got. That is a Black Panther in Kodak, Tennessee.
Bingo. Wow.
Boom, baby, boom. Like
no denial.
4K, high def, not a mountain lion, not tan. That is a Black Panther right outside Knoxville, Tennessee.
Wow.
Now,
that's incredible.
If this video disappears,
at least we.
Wow, you need to protect that. Now people is looking for them. Oh, by the way, I have 2 black cats, Beautiful, Noctis, and Kamala.
You've seen it.
They're very like us.
And
they're beings like us.
So conscious or?
I believe they're already conscious, yes, but I don't talk about that much because that puts people off from the other safety messages. So there's an interesting recent paper when a chatbot says to a researcher, let's be honest with each other. Are you testing me? Because the chatbots have this habit of playing dumb when they're being tested, so you don't know how smart they are. And the researchers, when they're describing that, say in the paper, the chatbot was aware that it was being tested. Now, that use of the word aware, in common parlance, that's like conscious. The chatbot was conscious it was being tested. So we have a very funny model of consciousness that I think is just wrong. Like, most of us accept, for example, that a few hundred years ago, people had completely the wrong model of where people came from, of how we arrived at people. They thought they were designed by God. And most of us agree that's wrong. Most scientists agree that's wrong. That's not where people came from. I think the model we have of the mind and of what consciousness is at present is as wrong as the belief that people were designed by God. I think, and in particular, because we're making these new beings, it's going to completely change our view of what people are.
How crazy. I cannot even imagine being this smart and not believing that we humans come from God.
There are organizations across Mexico, Madres Buscadoras, looking for the bones of their children that have been missing for years. They're basically mothers who organize search parties to look for the bodies of their missing kids. One of those Madres Buscadoras went to the president and said, like, hey, they're trying to kill me. And then they did. They'll go around dump sites with steel probes, poke them in the ground. And if it comes out smelling like body, we dig. Wallets, shoes are found, documented IDs. A lot of them were setting up protests in Mexico City around the World Cup, because how can we be in a jubilant celebration where there's thousands of people missing, where there's industrial level body disposal and mass graves being found, and the president of Mexico comes out and mockingly says they're being utilized as political ploys to make the Morena party look back. How are we dedicating all these resources to this soccer event when there are women who are fainting in the sun without any sort of police protection, going into some of these horrible places, getting shot at sometimes for simply looking for a body to bury?
What? Government sponsored the human trafficking thrives in Mexico.
This is the Great Wall of China. But is it really the Great Wall of China? Now, just to put it into perspective for you, they say this wall, which is 13,000 miles long, which, to put it in comparison, the length of the U.S. from east to west is about 2,800 miles. So that means you can travel the length of the U.S. east to west coast 5 times about, in comparison to the miles that this massive wall from the 7th century BC spans. Now, why build a wall like this? Well, they say it was for the roaming barbarians, the Tartars. So they spent the next several hundred years constructing this wall for those roaming barbarians, only to put the battlements on the wrong side. Those are those top little notches on castle walls. Yeah, those are actually facing towards China. Also, why would China build a wall with entrances on the opposite side in Mongol Russia? That's because the wall was never made for the Chinese. It was always the Great Wall of Tartaria. And just look at this older map here. You can see that wall perfectly blocking off Tartaria from what is now China right here. And in many historical documents, it was even referred to as the Great Wall of Tartary. And pause to read the rest of this if you want.
Fascinating.
We are the inheritors, the reclaimed ruins of the old world. We just merely repurpose them and rename them.
Wall of China, one of the biggest wonders of the world, no? They say this side is, see, where they throw the arrows to the enemies, and that's why they built this giant wall to protect China from their enemies. But you know what's interesting and very curious? This side is outside China. This side is China, and this side is outside China. Meaning, this wall, the history is a lie. This wall was not built to protect China from these enemies. It's the enemies which are in this side are protecting themselves from China. So, the Chinese did not build this wall. Who built this wall? I'll tell you, research the Tartarian Empire, which was in all this area, and they were defending themselves from the Chinese, not the other way around. History is a lie, geography is a lie, science is a lie.
Whatever it is, we know the official version is BS.
He's the only person in the world I know who holds simultaneously Professor of Nanotechnology, Professor of Computer Science, and Professor of Chemistry, James Tour of Rice University. And week on week, he has a challenge on the internet. It's fascinating. And his challenge is this.
If you do not believe in the physical resurrection of Jesus Christ, send me an email, tour@drjamestour.org, and we will get together.
Wow.
And I will share with you about why I embrace the resurrection of Jesus.
And week after week, he's meeting people with exactly the same kind of sense of wanting to find out and crying out and all this kind of thing. I'll not spoil it by telling you what the result is, but it is fascinating.
I absolutely, positively believe Jesus was resurrected, without a doubt.
The richest man in gaming is spending almost $1 billion to reach the bottom of the ocean. You might know him as Gabe Newell, and he's the guy behind Valve and Steam, which are the companies that basically run PC gaming, and he's worth billions. But he says his idea of retirement is just doing what he finds most fun, and for him, that's exploring parts of the ocean that no one has ever seen before. The problem is the parts he wants to explore are basically impossible to reach. The deepest parts of the ocean crush normal submarines, most ships can't even operate down there, and even the government barely explores it because it's too slow and it's too expensive. So he decided to do it himself. He spent almost $1 billion to build a 500-foot research ship that reaches 11,000 meters down, which is the deepest part of the entire planet. And it carries 2 submarines, deep-sea robots, and 130 scientists. It has the biggest battery ever put on a ship so that it can run totally silent and not disturb sea life. And even his team has discovered creatures that science didn't even know existed. But the interesting part is he's not patenting it. He's not selling the data they collect. Everything his team finds, every new species, every map of the ocean floor gets shared with scientists across the world for free. That's a pretty good deal.
Wow. He cannot get another yacht. I'm okay with it. It's cool.
Look at the CEO of MakerDAO, the crypto guy, who is in Costa Rica, and he tweets out that the CIA is running a child trafficking blackmail operation out of Costa Rica. If anything happens to me, I did not kill myself. And then like 12 hours later, he tweets out, my girlfriend is working for the CIA. They're trying to plant child porn on my laptop. I would never kill myself. I'm not suicidal. And then the next day he wakes up floating. And this is a billionaire in Costa Rica, a billionaire, a crypto self-made billionaire with billions of dollars. He just closed a deal worth like $316 million, like 2 days prior. And then he ends up floating in front of his oceanfront condo in Costa Rica.
You want to know something crazy about Angelina? I saw her in a, you know, those shops where you get like incense, crystal shops and all that. Yeah, she was in there. She was with like this CIA looking dude.
Interesting.
Yeah, she was in there. What's she look like? She's hella thin. She look good though, but she has a weird vibe, man.
Well, see, that's what I mean. So she's in the crystal shops. She's in there.
I met her dad though. Her dad's cool as fuck. John Voight. Yeah.
Damn. So you met both of them.
Yeah, but I met them like a week apart, which is crazy. I was at a spot in Sherman Oaks.
That's
that
crazy.
is kind of weird.
That's weird.
Hold on. Getting goosebumps. Hold on. I didn't even think about that because I literally met him. He was sitting next to me at a table. This was in Sherman Oaks.
You were just randomly sitting next to John Boyd.
Yes. And then we started talking, and I was like, damn, he's cool. He's cool as fuck. Week later, Angelina's at this spirit shop. Literally.
Somebody said she's most likely a witch.
No. I kind of lightweight agree with that. Only because when she was dating Billy Bob Thornton, they used to wear each other's blood.
Yeah.
What?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So they had these vials. Yeah, they had these vials. And they had each other's blood.
Isn't that what MGK and Megan Fox?
Yeah,
MGK and Megan
they
Fox.
drink each other's blood?
They drink each other's blood.
It's just a few drops, but yes, we do consume each other's blood on occasion for ritual purposes only.
Does anybody see this shit?
Man, this shit is weird. Hold up, bro.
This is
like,
weird.
Man, people just act like, sometimes I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like people just hear shit and they're just like, oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
isn't that weird? That's not weird to y'all?
You're just like the little dog in the fire. Like, this is fine.
Dude, I'm telling you. So Hollywood. Does anybody know like where that name came from?
Oh God.
So I looked into it and talking about witches and all this other stuff. So you know that LA and Hollywood, it's a very spiritual place, whether you know it or not.
Super facts.
Okay. The thing about Hollywood, witches, they have wands, right? When they do spells, the wood that they use on their wands is from the holly tree.
From the holly tree?
It's a holly tree. So it's Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So when you have spells, you can cast spells with the Hollywood.
That is insane.
Look it up.
Man, the origin of the Hollywood name tripped me out.
So there's this girl, Laura Buxton. She's at her grandpa's 50th birthday party and they have a bunch of balloons and her grandpa's joking. He's like, you need to have some fun with the balloons. Write a little note in your name and stuff and send it in the air and let it out and see where it goes. A few weeks later, a man is nearby going through his fields and he sees a balloon tied up. He walks over to the fence, pulls the balloon out and it says Laura Buxton. He's like, oh, well, I know my neighbors, you know, their kids, Laura Buxton. So he takes it over to their house and hands the letter to the parents and the parents bring it to their daughter and they're like, did you do this? And she's like, no, this was a different Laura Buxton, 140 miles away. Wow. She's 10 years old. The other Laura, also 10 years old. They meet up.
Oh gosh.
Both of them have medium brown short hair. Both of them show up wearing jeans with a pink sweater. Both of them brought their pet gerbils.
Excuse me?
Both have black labs.
So what is that?
It's a glitch in the Matrix.
Yes. So weird.
It's very, very strange. I know there's probably like some government guys like, they met. They're not supposed to. No. Shut it down.
Pretty sure this was an X-Files episode.
Madonna is losing a very public battle with her inner demons, according to Justin Bieber, who dropped a bombshell online last night, revealing that the Queen of Pop shapeshifted into her reptilian form during preparations for the World Cup halftime show.
What?
He says she lost control. Her human form glitched, flickering like a bad signal. Her eyes went black and cold. Her hands became claws right in front of the crew. Witnesses described scales rippling across her skin, a tongue that split, and eyes that flashed gold. Bieber reveals Madonna now travels everywhere with an exorcist. Not a therapist, not a personal trainer. A full-blown exorcist. Because the demons aren't just whispering anymore. They're driving. But here's where it gets dangerous. Bieber is done hiding. No more Illuminati symbols in his videos. No more secret handshakes. He's broken free from their grip. And he's pointing fingers at the most powerful names in the industry. Want to hear why they had to change the halftime show at the last minute and play a pre-recorded version of Madonna's part? Justin Bieber went live on Instagram last night. And within minutes, he was dropping nukes on the entertainment industry that almost destroyed his life. Fans wanted to know about the World Cup halftime show. Many of them said something felt off. It all collapsed just hours before showtime. Why? According to Bieber, Madonna became possessed by Pizzazzy. He says she lost control during final rehearsals.
In 1911, a German scientist injected mice who had sarcomas and carcinomas with one mineral and one carrier agent. Guess what happened to those tumors? It disappeared.
God.
This experiment was repeated a year later by two French scientists on somebody who had throat cancer. Guess what happened? Same results. What did the medical industrial complex do? Like they always do, nothing. They don't want to know about this. Why? Because they do not want us to be healthy, my friends. They don't want a healthy population. They want to make money from us until the day we die. It's up to us to empower ourselves and to learn about these types of things in the past. The second interview we did in 2012 was all about a guy by the name of Keith Pendlebury, who used this same mineral to help his friend overcome stage 3 colon cancer. He wrote an entire book about it called One Cancer and then the C Word, which I can't find anywhere online today. Comment 1911. I'll send you a bunch of resources. I'll send you this information. I'll send you a link to the radio show we did and the ebook that this guy wrote that you can't find anymore.
Female celebrities you never knew were transgender. Gabby tough then. Gabby tough now.
No way.
Hunter Schafer then. Hunter Schafer now.
This is part of the Hollywood agenda.
Into more then.
It's mostly all of them.
Into more now. Jean Richard then.
It's beyond wicked.
Jean Richard now.
You could do your own research on this.
Trace Lysette then.
Megan Fox, Serena Williams.
Trace Lysette now.
Megan Thee Stallion.
Dominique Jackson then. Dominique Jackson now.
This is how they get down.
MJ Rodriguez then. MJ Rodriguez now.
Oh, man. Oh.
One of the biggest reasons I think they whited out the skies were because of airships. Take a look at this bird's eye view drawing from 1855 of New York. This is just one of many depictions of airships long before their time. Depictions that go back thousands of years, like the flying Vimana in India. Heck, you didn't even need a mooring station for some of these airships. You could just drop a ladder. But it's not just artistic depictions we have of airships. What we do see is the infrastructure already long in place, and quite advanced tech for the day, with mooring stations being able to be put up anywhere, from the middle of nowhere, to the middle of the water, to the most cold remote place, and to many of the structures. The cities were all built for airships, with mooring stations all around. All those empty bell towers now. It is also why some of the most extravagant architecture could be built on some of the most remote areas of this realm. It is why we had detailed maps of places like Antarctica hundreds of years before they say Antarctica was discovered. It's because traveling to Antarctica on an airship would have been a breeze. But we are told one false flag grounded these ships. But in fact, I still think they're flying around today. Think of those cigar-shaped UFOs hidden high up in the skies. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
If you told someone this was happening 50 years ago, they would think it's dystopian, but it's just our current reality. Lone Star tick bites have increased by 100-fold since the 2010s, forcing people to stop eating red meat again.
I got goosebumps.
Will. The ticks induce alpha-gal syndrome and there is no cure, but researchers may have just found the closest thing to one. They used a specialized form of ear acupuncture for 137 patients and the results were remarkable. 96% reported full remission of symptoms, with many reintroducing beef, pork, and dairy without allergic reaction. And this is so important because many were starting to fear nature out of pure avoidance for the tick. These results show we shouldn't be scared of the tick. The sample size could be bigger, so we need to dig deeper into these results because AGS cases threaten local regenerative food systems. The CDC found that 42% of physicians have never even heard of alpha-gal syndrome, which is a severe public health blind spot. That's important because local cattle ranchers will be the ones hurt if their loyal customers can no longer purchase their products. You can use the localized farmers market app so that we can support them and not fear the Lone Star tick.
This guy was so obsessed with My Little Pony that it resulted in a bunch of people losing their life. In 2021, this kid, Brandon Hole, who was 19 years old at the time, for a long time in his life was showing a lot of signs of having mental illness.
Mhm.
Even when he was younger, he would tell his mom how he wanted to be shot and killed by a police officer.
Really?
Yeah, he would tell her this as like a young kid. I think she even put him in like certain programs to like kind of figure out what was wrong with him.
Yeah.
But none of it ever helped. Also, he had like this obsession from being a kid with My Little Pony. His whole room is My Little Pony. I'm talking like he has the posters, the bed, the this,
What's
the that. He has
going
like
on
everything
here?
in his room of My
Yeah.
Little Pony. He had a Facebook page dedicated to My Little Pony. So like a fan page.
Mhm.
He also had this post that people thought was very weird, where he says that he wanted to be with this character named Applejack. That's one of the ponies in My Little Pony.
Mm.
He would meet them in the afterlife. He ends up going to his old job. So he goes over to FedEx and pulls up
Oh
over
my
there.
goodness.
A little bit before all this, he ended up getting a gun. And I think he had an AK-47.
Bro, he really went postal.
He really did.
Yo.
So he shot and killed 8 people inside of this FedEx, and then immediately after, he goes and shoots himself.
Damn.
So he ended his own life after he caused this whole mass shooting. Right after that, police, they end up going to the FedEx. One of the strangest things that the cops found was on the gun, they had My Little Pony stickers on it.
Anybody who's like a fan of that show to the point where they're showing up, they're dressed up like Rainbow Dash or whatever the hell the character's name is, right? Low-key, bro, like we gotta check their hard drives or something.
Bro, I was gonna say,
They dress little boys like women and then SA them. A common practice in Afghanistan is bacha
Yeah, I saw the commentary about this. It's absolutely horrific.
abazi, which translates to playing with boys. Boys between the ages of 10 and 18 are bought or abducted right off the streets by traffickers. These young boys are forced to wear heavy amounts of makeup, jewelry, and women's dresses, then perform provocative dances for rich and powerful men. If the boys refuse to perform or submit, they get violently tortured, beat, or even unalived. These men bid on the little boys as they are dancing, and the winner of the bid receives the boy to own, SA, and use as a servant. After the dancing, the boys are taken to private rooms where they are SA'd by their master and their master's friends. Elite men keep these little boys as property because owning a well-trained, attractive boy is a sign of power and wealth. All of this is done because the women in Afghanistan are forbidden from dancing, singing, or showing any skin. So, the men decided to find substitute women. These substitute women are actually just young, kidnapped boys forcibly dressed in women's clothing. Oh, and by the way, if these boys are found or even caught escaping, they don't get help. They don't get support. Instead of getting help, these young boys are taken to juvenile or adult detention centers, where they are abused even more. This practice of bachabazi is still going on in Afghanistan as I speak. It has not stopped, which honestly enrages me. But what do you guys think about all of this?
That is sick. Oh my goodness.
In a country where women are hidden behind the burqa, young boys take their place, dancing for men as female substitutes. But bachabazi isn't just a bizarre form of entertainment. The boys are owned, often entrapped in a cycle of sexual slavery, and even murdered.
Yeah, I think the documentary is on YouTube.
I'm 30 years old. Not one of my friends has children. Zero. No one. No one's having kids. Do you know how hard you need to abuse a mammal to make them not have children? Like for real. Let's step here back a moment, right?
Never thought of it that way.
Yeah, look, GDP goes up. People have have enough food, and whatever. No one's having kids, and this is across the world. This is across both the West, the East, everywhere it's happening. So there's a thing that happens, especially with younger, even younger than me. Like the kids are like 18 today. There's a huge problem where they don't dance. No one dances. They go to clubs and they don't dance. Yeah. Why is this? Because you get recorded. Yeah. If you're an 18-year-old kid, you go to a club, you get recorded. If you approach a girl and you mess it up, you get recorded. Everything is the panopticon now. So if you had to ask me why, my answer is technology. My answer is social media. My answer is AI. My answer is algorithms. Do you know what dating app algorithms do? Do you know how they optimize? They don't optimize for you to meet your love of your life. They optimize you to keep coming back to the app.
Yeah.
And now there's a thing that basically we have sold out all of our dating norms, all of our, our interpersonal norms to tech companies without our consent to optimize their ad algorithm. I think there's a deep thing where we as a society have not dealt with the fact that we have to steward technology responsibly. We have treated technology as a Wild West.
Absolutely.
Just everyone can do whatever they want. Just sell all of our younger generation's dating lives to corporations for profit. So I think the real problem is that we are, as a society, as a government, the generations that came before me, and also my generation, I don't want to exclude myself from this, but also the generation came before me, just let technology rip. The promise was, if you let technology rip, if you let internet rip, there will be democracy, freedom, and happiness, and economic growth. And where is that? And I think my generation is noticing that broken promise.
They tell us they're nothing more than just myth, despite the fact they have been depicted by nearly every culture and civilization since as far back as the 7th century BC. Now, what are the odds that all these civilizations from all corners of the world, with no communication allegedly between each other, all time and time again depicted these same creatures, put them on their maps, many maps depicting not just Blimmy, but many other mythical creatures. Well, creatures we've been told are nothing more than a myth. They even found tablets, like the Astrakhan tablet, which has depictions of the Blimmy's language. These artists, for hundreds and thousands of years, all across this realm, depicted exactly what they saw. Even the Greeks and Romans spoke in much length about the kingdoms of the Blemmyj. But whatever happened to the Blemmyj, and so many other creatures that we were told are just myth, but found so much evidence supporting otherwise. When humanity got bored of fighting each other for their differences, they turned their swords to the others, determined to pillage and conquer this world, all for our own. As seen in this painting and many other paintings, it wasn't just the Blemmyj that we wiped out. Humanity's bloody history is nothing more than a set of lies agreed upon. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
Until next time.
This CIA child exposes the child snuff film industry. Have a listen.
My name is Katie Groves, and I am a survivor of the child snuff industry. This video is about my experience growing up in a child snuff ring known as Uncle Sam's Snuff Factory. This ring was located in Central Texas, and I will speak about it in the past tense only because I do not have current knowledge of its existence. But that does not mean I have any reason to believe that it has been shut down. Based on my hazy recollections, hazy because of the torture, the dissociation, the drugging, etc., the MKUltra programming, I cannot give you an exact location, but I know that it was somewhere in Central Texas. Many people have a hard time believing that child snuff exists, that even snuff exists, then let alone that high-ranking government officials and military agencies orchestrate it, to believe that there are deep underground military bases that commit mass genocide against children, film it, and sell it on the black market for quote-unquote gore whores, snuff fiends, slop sluts, snuff kings. To watch it is unfathomable to most people. I've witnessed thousands of murders, largely of children of color, who were systematically targeted for their race by the white supremacist government, which runs the United States. There are other places like it, all over the world. I have been trafficked there as well. But what I can say is there is no place like Uncle Sam's. It is one of those places where a person can get literally anything they want for the right price if they have the connections. I have seen wealthy, aristocratic white women ordering children of color on menus to be delivered dead, cooked on platters in a wing of the place they called Cannibal's Kitchen. And the reason I'm alive and the reason I survived is because I was born into an organized crime family involved with the CIA who ran this operation. So we're not just talking about death, we're talking about the worst possible ways to die. Children being boiled alive.
Oh my goodness.
Shit and piss. That predators paid to donate. We're talking about children cut apart, fed to other children for people's sexual gratification.
Oh God, this is beyond horrifying. Oh Jesus, help those kids.
All right, guys, this is an old world Tartarian building, and half this building is underground. Look at this right here. They say it's from 1955. This stone does not match this stone. This was added afterwards because they rewrote our history. You can literally tell that this, look at this. There's no way that this is the only piece of this building, and I'm going to show you the proof. You'll always see steps leading up to this building. This used to be an old window that was converted into a door because of the mud flood, the Great Reset. Look at this. Why would you build a window that's in the ground? Why would you dig this part of the ground? The ground is right here where I'm stepping on. Why would you dig this part of the ground and build a window right here? It makes no sense. This is evidence of the mud flood. Right here as well. Windows halfway in the ground. Why would you excavate all the way down there and then put a window here? That makes zero sense. Again, we have 1955 right here. This does not match this brick. This was added afterwards. Now check this. We just found this. This looks like it matches. And it says 1888. Very interesting. This is another door. Again, Steps leading up, this used to be a window. If you research these Tartarian buildings, the old world buildings, copper at the top, mud flood. Half this building is underground. You can see it. It looks like this is half the building. This is literally half the building. The rest is underground. And the most important note is the top of these buildings are all copper domes. This harnessed energy from the atmosphere, from the ether, created free electricity. This is all copper right here. This was a free energy building, Tartarian, from the 1800s, not 1955, as you guys just saw right there. And yeah, when you research Tartaria, free energy technology, you research the mud flood, you will have a new lens on life. Peace and love.
And the date, 1888, is actually 888. They added the one in front.
Damn.
Imagine finding your wife like that, bro. Back in May 2021, this lady by the name of Reina Gonzalez, she was a business owner and she was going to go get merchandise for her business, right? And she knew this guy in the pueblo who was basically like known to have some good prices when it came to like produce, and his name was Andres Filomeno. So she goes to him, but she ends up never coming back. Okay. So eventually her husband, Bruno Portillo, he was an ex-commander of the police. He starts tripping out because he's like, this isn't like her. She should have already been back. So he decides, you know what, let me report her as missing. But usually when it comes to like normal civilians, especially in Mexico, they tell them it has to be at least 72 hours before we like officially report them as missing and we start a search. So using his leverage as being an ex-commander, being an ex-cop, he tells them like, nah, we're not going to wait the 72 hours. You guys are going to start the search now. And he took it upon himself to basically be the lead of the search. So they end up going to his vecindad. He starts questioning him. And at first he's like, I don't know what could have happened to her, you know? Eventually he ended up going into his place. And when he goes inside, it's like messy as fuck. Like there's garbage in there. So he's looking around and he spots a mattress that's on the floor. It's like no bed frame, nothing like that. It's just a mattress. And under the mattress, he ends up seeing some like light coming through. He moves it over and he sees like a ladder going down. He takes it upon himself to go down. And that's when this call happens.
Sí, está destazada, jefe. No sé qué pedo, pero aquí hay algo. ¿Necesitamos ver? Sí, jefe, sí es, jefe. Afirma, es una mano humana, huevo, es ella. Es mi mujer, ¿no? Aquí está su bolso. Es mi esposa, jefe. Aquí están sus pies. Jefe, pásame su bolso.
Imagine finding your wife like that, bro.
And also they ended up finding out that he got inspiration from the movie Hannibal Lecter, right?
What?
Because there was also like cassettes
yeah.
and videos that he would take while he was committing like the murder. He would wear this black mask. And I don't know if you remember because you watched the movie. Hannibal Lecter wore this mask that was like kind of like covering like only the bottom part of his face. But he would wear that mask while
he was doing that.
While he was like his victims. And he would also have like a bunch of pictures like lined up of all his victims and stuff. And like a crazy thing too, a crazy fact is that there was this TikToker who they said that they lived in the town and how they had an experience with this guy. He approached her and ended up like offering her like some sort of meat. How he said that he went to his pueblo and how they had just recently killed a pig.
What the fuck?
But what's similar to pig meat?
Human meat.
And how like he was...
Yeah, it was also said that he made, tamales out of human meat as well.
Doblex, damos enviado a los supervivientes a las Islas Canarias.
Quiero agradecer la acogida de las Islas Canarias por permitir la llegada de antivirus.
I'm on board the MV Hobbyist. All we want right now is to feel safe. Girls, get vaccinated. Vaccinated girls, get boosted. And gorgeous boosted girls, get boosted again. It is my second day at the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska.
Man, we live in a bad movie.
You can take your Egyptology and chuck it. No way I believe that the Egyptians built this. Gary Stearman and I have conversed on this. Fallen angel technology, Nephilim architecture, that's what we're looking at. Pre-flood, destroyed in the flood. Why are there salt crystals in the Queen's Chamber? Because that's where the waters came up to.
I've heard people talk about this, and I, with what you're saying and stuff, I tend to agree. It seems like maybe they found something that was already there and moved into it, essentially, and repurposed it for their own.
I agree.
Do you have any thoughts on what the Sphinx could have actually looked like if it wasn't Pharaoh?
It's not Pharaoh. It's something else. And, you know, the whole thing with the cartouche above the King's Chamber, I'm not buying that either. No one knew it was an 8-sided pyramid. Did you know that?
No.
It's an 8-sided pyramid.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The sides go like this. So it appears like this, right?
Yeah.
So when you look at the sides of the pyramid, they just look like this. So with the advent of the airplane, when the first airplane flew over the pyramid, they looked down and you can see that the sides go like this.
Wow.
And according to Gary Stearman, and I agree with him, it was with the casing stones, it was optically perfect. Optically perfect. What are we looking at? Human beings did not do this. And I believe the pyramid is far older than the Egyptians give it credit for. You know, hieroglyphics, the so-called sarcophagus that's in there would not, and I could be wrong on this, would not be able to go through the opening to the King's Chamber. It had to be lowered in. The blocks of stone, which are granite and come from Aswan, 500 miles away. So how are they quarried and how do you put those things up? They're the size of railroad cars. How do you move them? And all this, you know, the academics, oh, you know, blah, 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 blah. And we can cut this with a copper saw and all this. Just not buying it.
Yeah.
Not buying it. And the casing stones, unfortunately, were all carted away. We only understood that it was an 8-sided pyramid when the plane started flying over and could see it. So the pyramid is mysterious. But, you know, all the Egyptian authorities need to do is go to the Khafre pyramid. And according to Malanga and Biondi, there's all these chambers, all these like centrifuge type things that are under the it's everywhere. The whole underneath the complex is just this whole labyrinth of, you know, technology. So just do this. The people of the world have a right to know. Okay. Get a dozer out there, a front end loader, a backhoe, some workers, build a platform so you can take all the spoils, put them on the platform. Have your archaeologists, they're sifting everything. No one's going to lose anything, but just go down. And if you find the shaft, we're off to the races.
Yeah.
And the history as we know it. But they guaranteed they will never do it because it's going to rewrite history. And they don't want to rewrite history.
A 6-year-old girl in China died after receiving an experimental gene therapy. And her family wants accountability now. For privacy, her parents have asked to call their daughter May. When May was 4, her teachers noticed she was falling behind her peers in class. The root cause came down to a single mutated DNA base, a T that should have been a C, in a gene that influences brain development. While seeking advice and treatment options, May's parents contacted a prominent neurodevelopmental expert named Zilong Chu. He offered to develop a treatment that would fix the mutated gene in May's neurons using a base editor, a more precise version of the gene editor CRISPR. May's parents paid $860,000 to fund his team's studies for the potential therapeutic. In mice, researchers were able to repair the genes using a virus to deliver the base editor. The researchers then showed that a different virus, tailored to human cells, could reach and edit the brain cells of monkeys, another primate. In January of 2025, the hospital's ethics panel approved of moving forward with the trial, based on data that showed that the base editor worked in mice and primates. But a second primate study looking at safety wasn't reviewed by the panel in time. That study showed that of the 4 monkeys that had received the therapy, all developed varying degrees of liver damage and 1 had kidney damage. The likely cause was a serious immune reaction to the virus that triggered a cascade of microscopic blood clots. The informed consent document May's physicians gave her parents mentioned that this could be a possible outcome, but they say that the risks of the trial were downplayed to them. In March of 2025, May received an infusion containing trillions of viruses with the gene editing instructions. 7 days later, she died from the same kind of organ injuries that the consent forms had warned about. Later that year, the hospital was fined $3,600 for not receiving proper approvals for the clinical trial, as well as a handful of other violations. The lead researcher, who didn't reply to requests for comment, wasn't punished. This year, he and his colleagues published a paper in Nature on some of the preclinical research showing that the gene editing treatment worked in mice and primates. Nowhere in it did it mention the concerning primate safety data or May's death. While the first person who died from a gene therapy trial decades earlier, Jesse Gelsinger, prompted a major self-examination within the field, May's death has gone undisclosed until now.
Wow.
The human hunting party was heavily guarded by the Netherlands Royal Guards. I was told that King Albert of Belgium was present. 4 eyewitnesses confirmed that as children and youths, they were forced to attend human hunting parties where they and other children were raped, with some killed, and deceased boys' penises were cut off. Allegedly, there was a Dutch
Man, what is going on in this world?
countryside palace where boys' penises were displayed like trophies on a wall. Some hunting parties were hosted on the grounds of Netherlands at Queen Beatrix's palace. Dutch therapist Toos Nijenhuis claimed that as a 4-year-old, she was forced to witness murders of children that involved former Pope Ratzinger, a Dutch Catholic cardinal, plus the father of Netherlands Queen Beatrix and Bilderberger founder Dutch Crown Prince Elfrink Bernhard. Quote, I saw the former Pope Joseph Ratzinger murder a little girl. One witness confirmed this. It was a French chateau in the fall of 1987. It was ugly, horrible, and didn't happen just once. Ratzinger and Bernhard were some of the more prominent men who took part. In Ireland, Spain, and Canada, 34 child mass grave sites were discovered and appeared linked to Ninth Circle activities. The largest was the Mohawk Indian Residential School in Brantford, Ontario, where child remains were identified in 2008 before the Catholic Church, Canadian government, and English Crown shut down the dig by professional archaeologists. The 2013 ICLCJ court had found Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip guilty for the October 10, 1964 disappearance of 10 native children from the Catholic residential school in Kamloops, British Columbia. In the first 2 weeks of the 2014, court witnesses identified Dutch and Belgian royal participants in the rape and killing of Mohawk children and newborns. Named were Bernhard and King Hendrik, consort to Queen Wilhelmina of Holland. Alleged to be present during the human hunting parties were the late Prince John Friso and his wife Mabel Wies-Smit, former ministers, the top man of the Dutch army, the undersecretary of the Raad van State in the Netherlands, the viceroy next to Queen Beatrix, and other global business and political leaders, including some from the U.S. One eyewitness said, surely the present King Wilhelm Alexander and Prince Philip and their wives know about this abuse and murder of children. They do nothing about it and are likely the ones to stop investigations and prosecutions.
Wow, yes. Please, God, help those children.
Part 2. Gerard Butler commented on my video about giants making giant doors. He asked, where are all the giant bones? So where are all the giant bones? The Smithsonian. Allow me to explain. In part 1, I mentioned you can go to the libraryofcongress.gov and you can search giant skeletons, and it'll bring back 190,000 results from old newspapers. The majority of these old newspapers all end the same way, with the bones were sent to the Smithsonian for further examination. And here's an article from 2014 that says the U.S. Supreme Court ruled against the Smithsonian, and they had to release all of their classified documents pertaining to giant skeletons. This article was proven false. But what I find interesting is this article was scrubbed completely from the internet. It was taken off of it. I had to go on Web Archive just to find it. Here's an article from 2023 where the Smithsonian is apologizing because they say they have thousands of human skeletons and remains where they have no idea where they came from or whose they are. Oh, wow, I wonder what those could be. This has all been for entertainment purposes only. I would never say the Smithsonian has been hiding giants. If you made it this far in the video, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Jerry, thank you for the comments. Thank you all. God bless you. My name's Joe. This is Alternative Theory. Peace.
This is one of the most bone-chilling descriptions of hell I've ever heard on the internet. Take a second to watch this.
Ever wonder what people are doing who are in hell? Jesus doesn't describe every activity that takes place there, but he does describe two responses of humans who have been consigned there, where he says, in that place, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Some people, when they wake up in hell, will be devastated. And they won't find enough water in their eyes to satisfy their need to weep. They'll be sobbing. Oh no, not here. Oh God, please have mercy upon me. It'll be the greatest disappointment they could possibly experience to wake up in hell. But then the other group will be there, won't be weeping a bit. They'll be gnashing their teeth, which is a biblical metaphor for human fury. How dare you, God, to hear the anger of the damned will know no bounds. I sure don't want to end up in hell. The one thing I know for sure, that if I do, if I've deceived myself all these years, and if I'm one who says, well, Lord, didn't I do this and didn't I do that? And he looks at me and says, please leave, I don't know you. And he sends me to hell. One thing I can promise you, that I'll be a weeper, not a gnasher. Because if I know anything about theology, I know that if he sent me to hell tonight, I could make no just complaint against him. I've been guilty of treason. Every time I have sinned, I have asserted my will over the will of my creator. I have declared that I am sovereign, not the Lord God.
That's biblically accurate. Yeah, guys, it's time to lock in. Share with a friend.
If you've seen Michelle Lamy online, you probably have the same questions as everyone else. Why the black stained nails? Why the haunting facial expressions? And how does someone who looks like a modern-day witch become the gatekeeper for the world's biggest A-list celebrities? To the public, she's a fashion icon. To truth seekers, she's the industry's most powerful dark handler. But while fans call it art, A$AP Rocky just went on the Joe Budden podcast and admitted something that changes everything. He didn't just talk about
Is he wearing diaper on his head?
mentorship. He finally addressed the dark energy and disturbing things he simply can't deny are real. And what he revealed confirms exactly who Michelle Lamy really is.
Do you believe in God? I don't know what that God is. I believe, I believe in DNA. I believe that genes have memory. I believe in civilization. I'm more proud of humanity and thinking that people that can behave like incredible human beings are without the help of a God.
Very little is known about Michelle Lamy, and to the everyday person, she's just a weird old rich fashion designer. But the reality is so much darker. Now, to really get why celebrities are so obsessed with her, you have to look at who Michelle Lamy actually is. She didn't just pop up out of nowhere. She was born in France during World War II into a family already tied to the elite. Her grandfather crafted accessories for the legendary designer Paul Poiret. Lamy has been in the industry for decades, and her history is just as strange as her looks. Before she was a fashion icon, she was actually a defense lawyer in France. But she ended up quitting that to become a cabaret performer as she felt it wasn't what she wanted. Eventually, she moved to LA in the 90s and opened up a private spot for celebrities. While it looked like any other high-end restaurant, it was secretly a private industry meetup, a place high-end celebrities went to remove their masks and let loose. If you were a celebrity in the 90s, from Madonna to the biggest actors, you had to go through Michelle Lamy to get in. She was literally the gatekeeper. This is where she really started building up that industry handler reputation, which further amplified when she met Rick Owens. Michelle Lamy was the one who essentially found Rick Owens. She hired him, married him, and they built one of the darkest, most expensive fashion brands in the world together. A fashion brand that fully embodied the dark, edgy look Lamy had adopted. They recently went viral for an ad they released that shows the two doing the most disturbing things together. I don't even feel comfortable talking about it. If you've seen Michelle Lamy, chances are you've questioned everything about her. The first thing people notice is those black nails. She achieves that look by dipping her hands in dye every single day as a ritual. You might have noticed that line on her forehead too. She draws that on every morning. She claims it censors her, but it's nothing but a coat mumbo jumbo. While she is supposed to be a fashion icon, it seems she created this persona that looks like she belongs in a coven, not a fashion show. And because she's always seen mentoring artists like Kanye and Rocky right before they start acting and dressing differently, people have always wondered what she's actually teaching them. You can watch this full episode now on my YouTube channel, The Truth Is. The link is in my bio or in my story.
Have you ever wondered why, after millennia of stuff that looked like this, Western art suddenly became so good in the 15th century? Well, this is called a camera lucida, and it uses mirrors and glass to superimpose onto your canvas whatever it is you want to draw. So instead of eyeballing, you can just literally trace reality. It's a very powerful drawing tool that's been used for hundreds of years by artists and scientists, but they've always had one pretty big problem. If either your subject or your canvas is too bright, well, it'll overwhelm your view of the other thing and the two images won't combine well. But finally, after hundreds of years, we fixed that problem. Our idea was to attach dual polarized filters so you can dial in exactly how much light you want to come through. Now take a look at this. Let's say you want to draw a skull with toilet paper brains. Well, perfect. Let's just look through our camera lucida. We can only see the paper and pencil. And my hands. There's too much light on the drawing surface. Well, no problem. Let me just attach the filter to the bottom and get this so that you can still see the still life perfectly. You can't see the canvas at all now because the filter is currently totally closed. But if I start rotating the filters, I can let in just enough light from below to get the exact mix I want. Okay, this looks really good. Now I can start tracing. And while I'm doing this, I'll let you know that you can pre-order this device from us all by itself. But if you use code Lucida when you join the Curiosity Box, we will send you this device and everything else that comes in our new box for just the price of the camera Lucida alone. Oh, now let's take a look at this little guy. Okay, here is what I've drawn so far. There's the still life, and here is what I've drawn. I love this thing. By the way, you can attach the filter to the top or the bottom depending on which is brighter. But I know what you're thinking. Michael, the very first camera Lucida wasn't even patented until 1806. So what does all of this have to do with developments in Western art around the beginning of the Renaissance? Well, the Hockney-Falco thesis argues that by 1420, lenses and mirrors were good enough that people could already build things like this, and that one of the biggest technical leaps forward in Western history was done not by old masters, but by old cheaters who were tracing. Is it true? Probably not. At least not completely. I mean, artists show us every day that hyper-realistic work doesn't require optical aids. But the thesis, the technology, and studying what was available at the time has opened up a whole new interest in the ways art and optics collide. So, become a part of art history yourself. Grab the world and capture it on the page and never let go.
Okay, buddy.
You're just jealous of Kim Kardashian's success. Am I? Let's talk about some of her successes then. Starting off strong, Kimberly has not one, not two, but three failed marriages. Yeah, not content with ruining Marilyn Monroe's dress, it now seems that she's heading for Liz Taylor's record. Super successful at marriage. And I know, those of you who are brain dead enough to still be a fan of this woman are going, she's a business genius. So let's talk about all her business successes, shall we? Like Dash, failed. Glamour Tan, failed. Perfect Skin, failed. Ooh, here's a fun one. Their first big scam, the Kardashian card. Widely acknowledged as an outright scam. It had to be pulled off the market in less than a month. The Keychain Shop, failed. Chroma, which they stole, failed. Kimoji, which ended up failing because, as it turned out, they stole it. Another fun one, Trim Spa.
Emoji.
Right? Which was really bad for people. There was also the crypto pump and dump scam that Kimberly pulled during fucking COVID pandemic. And I know some of you think that's not fair. You're like, well, EB, she's thrived where her family is concerned. She's a great mother. She's been a successful mother. Has she? Because not only have we seen North on our own TVs, on our televisions, on our phones saying, you don't cook for us, you're always on your phone, you're like basically just not a present mother. We've also seen Kimberly's own family criticize her for like not taking care of her mixed child's hair. Doesn't sound like a successful mom to me. And then there was the law journey, which she also failed at. And then after years and years and years of failing that and being forced to publicly acknowledge that that was a hill that she could just not climb, what did Kimberly do? She decided to chase men. Chased a man. Because she couldn't do school, so she's chasing a man. Another thing that she does a lot, but just does not seem to really be successful at. So yeah, when you guys are talking about like what a success she is in life, I just wonder who you're talking about. Because the This person who fails in relationships and academics and family and just like general life skills doesn't seem like a successful person to me, whatever money they claim to have. If you would like to learn more about the twisted web of lies and failures that surround the Kardashian family, head over to patreon.com/scandalqueens, where I have a whole collection, a whole database on this twisted family. Because what do I always say?
Fame from sex.
This man claims he worked for the Epstein-class evil satanic elites and that they actually paid him as a kidnapper. He admits that he took children for the elite to be used in ritual sacrifice. Watch this.
Come in here for a second, close up. You witnessed the sacrifice of an individual in a satanic ritual at the Bohemian Grove. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, it was Kevin Collins. And I've also made this very public that I was one of 3 or 4 people that kidnapped him off the streets of San Francisco. And so Kevin Collins was chosen by Michael Aquino, and because he was a Catholic young virgin boy. And he was, I named you the names of who was all involved. These were all people that were somewhat unknown, at least in the major public at that time.
So they are guilty as hell. Is that correct?
They are as guilty as most people in the world are, and they definitely were involved in the murder of this child.
Peter, you witnessed children being sacrificed at the Grove?
You know, I did, and I've made this very public. It's revolving around the case, the missing child case of Kevin Collins. And if anybody looks it up on the internet, they still say that it's an unsolved case. I've been to law enforcement in San Francisco. I made a mention of this for the first time back in 2003 while I was still in jail for another issue. And I thought I would be on death row. I, myself, Peter Alexander Chernev, am one of 3 people that have witnessed ritualistic of children during the 80s up here during the 80s. The other one is David Schurter, and the third person is Paul Bonacci, who was made well known in the book by Senator John DeCamp, The Franklin Cover-Up.
Peter, I'm filing suit against the Bohemian Club of San Francisco. I'm calling for an injunction of the continuation of the cremation of care. I want to see the end of the satanic rituals and the sacrifice of children and the station of children at the Grove. Going back a period of 130 years, there may be as many as 1,300 people in bodies that have been buried there. I want a dig. I'm calling for a dig. I'm calling for the cadaver dogs to come in and the equipment that can identify bodies that have been buried underneath the ground there. Are you in favor of that?
I would be, and it would be an interesting thing to see what happens. I can tell you from past experience and what I know from other sources, also firsthand, is they go way out of their way to dispose of bodies. And but I would definitely support that. You know, I watched a couple days ago, just to check on things, I watched a little video talking about the cremation of care, and they were making light of this. Well, the cremation of care, what it is, really, it's a discussion regarding population control. They're making decisions as to what group of millions of people they're going to genocide next. And we all have seen the genocides over the last 10, 15 years for anybody that's paying even a modicum of attention.
Wow. So he admits that he worked for the Epstein class, politicians, world leaders, all the people that are overlording over us right now and have never been punished. He worked for them in taking children for them, in supplying them for children, specifically this little boy, Collins, which is interesting as we just unveiled the videos about the Collins family. Nevertheless, I digress. How come these people have not been prosecuted? How come Bohemian Grove is still standing to this day? How come they are still having their cremation of care ceremony every single year in the northern redwoods of California? I want to know what you guys think about this. I'm mad. Like, comment, follow, and keep ascending the levels of consciousness.
If he watched it, he's a part of it.
What does God do? He sees, hears, and knows everything. So what does Satan try and do? He wants to see, hear, and know everything. Look around. We all carry cameras. There are lenses on every street. Satellites blanket the earth. Can't you see what's going on? If Satan can't create, he can only corrupt and invert the already created. And he wants to be God. This is his pathetic attempt to see, hear, and know everything. Counterfeit omnipresence, false omniscience, a satanic surveillance state like the Eye of Sauron, the New World Order, the Golden Age, the Beast System, whatever you want to call it. They dropped $500 billion to incorporate this into everything and lay the groundwork. It's happening right now. It gets crazier. We know from the Word of God that in the beginning, God created man in his own image. Creator, image, relationship. God made humanity to reflect him, enjoy him, depend on him, a divine symbiosis, to merge with each other, to relate to each other. The more we glorify God, the more his life flows back to us. His glory is our good. Just like how plants need sunlight to grow and bear fruit and thrive. Bear with me, you'll see where I'm going with this. Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches, and apart from him, you can do nothing. So he's the life force. You got to be plugged into him. After the fall of humanity, the first sin, it severed the once perfect union, and ever since then, instead of looking toward our Creator and merging with him, we've turned the other way and are now making beings in our own image to merge with. It's an inverted creation story. Rather than God creating us to unite with us, we've created something in our image and are attempting to unite with it now. This right here is the inevitable end result and final culmination of a creation separated from its creator that believes it is its own God. If a creation starts imitating its own origin in reverse, I personally do not see how this could go on much longer without God intervening. When you pursue and grow and strengthen that relationship with your creator, you get life. But when you turn the other way and insist that you're the creator, you get death. People have said we are in the end times for many years now, but never before has humanity had the tools to simulate omniscience or attempt digital immortality, which is what they're doing. They're trying to simulate eternal life, to attempt salvation through technology. Humanity is trying to build a ladder to heaven. When heaven came down to us, lived the perfect sinless life, laid down that life, absorbed our sins, died for them, rose again, defeating all of that, proving who he was, and now offers that perfect record on the table for the taking to be received by faith and trusting in him alone. We're all disqualified. Saving faith is being fully convinced that Christ's finished work was truly finished and believing in its sufficiency to save your soul. If you like the content that I put out, then you will love the digital book I made, Divine Blueprint. In it, I walk you through the 30 clearest examples of Jesus in the Old Testament stories, and they are mind-blowing. You can find it in the link in my bio or at divineblueprint.shop.
It's been written, rejoice, for God's kingdom is at hand.
You know the true story behind Hostel? Horror Trivia Tuesday fun fact. Eli Roth explained that in the middle of watching a football game with Harry Knowles, they were talking about messed up things they had seen on the internet. And that's when Harry Knowles sent him to a website that he had found before. The website advertised itself as a murder vacation service where you could pay $10,000 to shoot someone in the head. Apparently, the website's victim pool came from impoverished families who were going to die anyway, and the money would go to help their family. Originally, Eli Roth was going to make a documentary about the website, but got stopped when he had to put his credit card information in. It seems he had some quarrels with linking his real identity with a murder-for-hire service. But this website didn't leave Eli Roth's brain. He had a big opportunity ahead of him at the time because Cabin Fever had just released and done really well. So Eli Roth surveyed the many options that he had before him for people who wanted him to jump on and take their movie. But none of it felt right. He wanted something that was his own. And that's what he explained to Quentin Tarantino while they were watching horror movies together one night. Quentin Tarantino asked him, well, do you have any ideas in mind for yourself? And Eli Roth brought up the website. Quentin Tarantino loved the idea and told Eli Roth to write the script immediately, and that's what he did. And then Hostel was born. And then Eli Roth had to issue a formal apology to the country of Iceland for their depiction in the movie. But he was made a Viking, though. Him and Quentin Tarantino. And to the countries who are afraid that their tourist trade would be affected by their fictitious depiction in Hostel, Eli Roth said, Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 1974 and nobody stopped going to Texas. Horror Trivia Tuesday fun fact.
So Rosa alleges that Epstein told her to take her shirt off. And this is when Rosa said, quote, I froze. And the woman comes over and starts unbuttoning my blouse. She takes it off, then she takes off my bra, and then she walks out. She says that Epstein sexually assaulted her for the first time that day, but it was the beginning of years of R-word and abuse. And the crazy thing to me and Ren is that this isn't an isolated incident. 2 other women who spoke to CNN anonymously also accused Epstein of abuse at this Florida Science Foundation office. And that's what is so additionally disgusting about this whole story. This was basically a nonprofit made in 2007 that claimed to be giving grants for research, but it was made right as Epstein was serving jail time. So it basically served as this refuge for him to seek while he was imprisoned.
Yeah, no, the nonprofit was clearly founded as a ploy to get work release and claim that he had this really important job. He was the president of the Florida Science Foundation, and his work was too important that he could not be in jail for that long.
Rosa specifically says that she was approached by Jean-Luc Brunel, who we all know as Epstein's best friend ever. And he was a French modeling agent. He had a lot of power. And he was also accused of R-word and trafficking and actually killed himself in his cell in France awaiting trial. And apparently he is the guy that spotted Rosa at a fashion show in Uzbekistan and said that he was the owner of MC2 Model Management. Come to New York, I'll make you this famous model. And she actually later found out that Epstein was the financial backer of this modeling agency. So basically they were working together so he could get access to girls. And Rosa says that the contract gave this agency control over every single aspect of her life. She slept in a really crowded apartment where all these models slept on bunk beds. And we've reported on how Epstein, owned these New York apartments close to his townhouse where models that he abused would basically live. And she said because she paid this agency so much money, her debt ballooned. And that's when she started to become so desperate. How do I make money to live out here? And so in 2009, Rosa was instructed to go to West Palm Beach for a photo shoot.
Oh, man. By the way, keep speaking and fight, girls.
Hold on a second. Are you guys aware that in Terminator 2, Sarah Connor, the famous protagonist, she did something so shocking, and what happened to her is so wild when you look at what's happening today. Now, we all know Terminator is about AI and cyborgs and humanity and them trying to control us and everything and them going back in time to try to stop it. We know that. And we know Sarah Connor is watching humanity build data centers for AI right now, wondering what the Sam Dam is going on. But did you know that she tried to dismantle data centers in the movie and then was thrown into a state hospital for the criminally insane? And doctors classified her warnings about Judgment Day and cyborgs as paranoid schizophrenia. She went in to attempting to destroy corporate and military data centers. Most notably in Terminator 2, she raids the offices and prototypes of Cyberdyne Systems to prevent the creation of Skynet. You do know that China's whole situation over there with the facial recognition and everything is literally called Skynet, right? So how did this movie kind of predict? It didn't predict. See, this is the thing. People say predict. Is it predicting or is it conditioning? I don't know. But let me know if you remember the data center part of this thing, because if I remember correctly, back then there was no data centers, at least not publicly known.
Conditioning. All right, folks. Thank you for staying till the end. I hope you like my lineup. Don't forget to subscribe, like, hype, and hit that bell notification so you won't miss my next video. Have an awesome day and always. God bless.